Okay, so on to the foundation. Who we are. First off, we're trustees, we're associates, we're the executive office, and most important, we're donors. The foundation leaders, and I'm going to have to, it's hard to read, I'll do it from here. The foundation leadership, what I'd like you to do is for the foundation leaders, the thing I want you to take a look at is the army it takes to run the foundation. And so, including myself would be Grant, and please rise when I read your name, but I'll read these quickly. Vice President Grant Smith, Treasurer Larry Larson, Secretary Jerry Sparks. Our executive committee is comprised of Molly O'Toole, who leads our outreach efforts, Matt Koch, who leads our events committee, Brad Anderson, who leads our projects committee, Joanne Howard, who leads our fellows, Dale Lehman and Joe Bruno, who are our fundraising committees. In terms of the trustees, we have Mark O'Born, Vince DeCamille, Mark Forrest, Tim Hillier, Elise Ivandahl, Don McAvoy, Matt Miller, Bill Neckerman, Gopal Raja, Jeff Sparrow, Bo Temple, Samantha Medlock, and Steve Stockton. In terms of our associates, these are folks who are non-voting members who do a lot of the heavy lifting that make things happen. Include Bruce Bender, Dave Fowler, Janice Roper-Graham, David Key, Jessica Ludy, Belle Marquez, Deborah Mills, George Riedel, Elisa Savaggio, Ann Terranova, Terry Turner, Veronica Villalobos-Pogue, Joanna Wagshall, and Sonia Wood. And finally, we have two executive office liaisons that help us with what we're doing. Diane in terms of logistics and board meetings, and Suzanne in terms of accounting. But again, without these folks, this would not be happening. So a big round of applause. You know, we've never done the math in terms of what that brings to the foundation, but my guess is that if we raise, let's say, somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000 a year, my guess is that probably represents about another $300,000 a year of donated labor. So thank you for the volunteer support, and thank you for the people behind you that allow you to do that. So what you fund, you as donors, what do you fund in terms of the foundation? Well, we fund projects. We fund policy and technical dialogue, we fund education, and we fund scholarships. So starting forward with our committees led by Matt Koch. If you look at our events, we have facilitating policy dialogue. We have a number of different events that we take. Our hallmark always is our Gilbert F. White Policy Forum, which we're looking at hosting again in 2018. But also, we just completed our 11th chapter symposia in Oklahoma. And we're looking at hosting the third Larry Larson Speaker Series in conjunction with the Natural Hazards Conference in Denver this July. Again, helping to move the dialogue forward. In terms of our outreach committee, Molly O'Toole and her team are messaging what we do. We realized several years ago that we need to step our game up on messaging, and they're doing a great job with what they're doing, from reports to web page improvements to everything else. In terms of leveraging our committee, Joanne Howard is leading our Fellows Committee, but also what we're trying to do with the Fellows Committee. This is relatively new. We just adopted this since we met last year, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to recognize the leadership of people who have really contributed to the foundation long term, help put the foundation where it's going, but also we want them in a position to be able to draw on for the future. So many of these folks are moving on to other roles, or they're moving on to other phases of life, and that's what we'd like to try and do, is recognize them. So in Maryland this last year at the Speaker Series, we inducted Wally Wilson, Scott Edelman, Mike Moy, Larry Ollinger, and Mike Pavlidis as fellows. But also we are going to be inducting at our donors reception on Wednesday evening 2 new fellows, but I'd like to introduce them both while we're here. The first would be Grant Smith. Grant, if you could stand. Grant will be our newest fellow. Grant is coming from a long-time term career with Dewberry. He is going to be ramping down his career over the next year or so. But prior to that, Grant was an Army officer, a colonel in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and also found out that he and our next distinguished fellow shared a common job, which I'll talk about in a second or two. The next person is Jerry Galloway. Jerry, if you wouldn't mind standing. For those who have been in the business for years, they know Jerry's name, but perhaps what they don't know is that Jerry's the guy at the podium, but Jerry's also the guy behind the scenes rolling up his sleeves. He's been invaluable as a trustee. He's been invaluable in terms of helping to put together forum topics. And so we're thrilled to be able to bring Jerry together. Now, the common job, both Jerry and Grant were chief of staff at West Point. So the fact that we not only are embracing FEMA, we're not only embracing a number of in other areas, but bringing the military tradition forward as well is quite strong. So welcome, and we'll be giving you your pins in the next day or so. All right, so what is it that we're doing within projects? Well, first, here is where we're putting your donor dollars to work. We're doing a number of amazing projects. You can see a snippet of some of the covers and things that you would see there, and we have more projects coming forward. I'm going to speak to two in particular right now. The first is that the Foundation Board of Trustees approved a 2-year scholarship. This would be intended to be a full ride, a 2-year commitment to an undergraduate student at the junior and senior level. We are planning to roll this out in 2018. The university types would be a state institution. We would have a cap of about $25,000 a year. And if it wasn't for the vision of Matt Miller in terms of a trustee who helped pull this forward in terms of where we're going, but also a very significant personal contribution Matt made, this would be difficult to be able to move forward. So we're very excited about the scholarship, but I'd also like to recognize the efforts of Matt Miller, and also I forgot to mention Brad Anderson, who's the committee chair in terms of pulling this together along with Bo Temple. So applause for those guys. Another partnership that I would be remiss in not mentioning is that this year we are helping to pay for the cost share, if you will, for a coastal fellow with NOAA, and that's Jake Thickman. I don't know if Jake's in the room. He was introduced as part of staff. But Jake's finished his master's, and he's going to be working with us to help pull together many of the coastal elements that we've funded in the past, including ongoing work with the association. So again, putting your dollars to work with many other areas. But Jake, welcome, and we expect great things. Fundraising committee, it takes resources. Dale Lehman and Joe Bruno have worked tirelessly on that effort for the last few years, pulling it together. What they've looked at is pulling in folks on the individual, corporate, chapter, sponsorships, auctions. In 2016, we raised about $150,000. We're focusing to grow that in the very near future to $150,000. I was sharing with our keynote speaker, my vision is if we could get to a sustainable $200,000 type mark in the near future, then we're really beginning to make progress and make a difference in terms of what we're doing. So what I'm asking all of you is become a donor and make a difference. If you haven't visited our silent auction in the exhibits hall, please do that. There's some pretty cool stuff out there. It's a lot of fun. You can have a good time. If you have $5 and you can put it in the bead jar, go ahead and grab a set of beads and you can get a drink on Thursday night. But also, we're asking you to take out your checkbook. We're asking you to help fund the work of the foundation for the future. If you are a member of a chapter, ask your chapter what you should be doing to be able to do these. A number of our chapters are doing great contributions. We have a number of good corporate donations. This year, we're very pleased to be able to announce that we had 2 new $10,000 donors to the foundation. Willis Tower Watson with Sam Medlock coming on board as a trustee, and Moffatt Nichol have both joined for $10,000 each, contributing $20,000 total, along with the other sustaining contributions. In terms of personal donations, you can do it at the conference, you can do it on PayPal, you can make it simple, you can do it on a monthly basis. But again, without you, the work of the foundation would come to a very quick halt, and we do appreciate those who are donating and giving to the foundation.